make what? Oh, okay. sorry. Already done. What a portion of 16 million.
Thank you very much, everyone. You are all welcome to the EFF presser. I see the ENCA is desperately looking for all tactics to have us late. We're on time. It's perfect law. And we are here.
Yeah.
I'm going
According to EFF watch, not ENCA watch.
Yeah, we are on the watch of So, for the purposes of people who may not know, I think it's important to introduce the presidium, the members. Starting on my far right is the Treasurer General of the EFF, E.N. Mateis, and next to her is the Deputy President, Floyd Shibambu. Right here next to me is the Deputy Secretary General, Kengiwe Mkhaliphi. And then next to her is the Secretary General, Godrich Gadi. Next to him is the National Chairperson of the EFF, the People's Advocate, Dali Mbofu, and the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Lomalema, and I now hand over to you.
Thank you very much, members of the media, fellow South Africans. We are proud to announce that the EFF has concluded all its provincial people's assemblies across all 9 provinces of the country. All of these PPAs were in the main constituted by no less than 90% of launch branches in good standing across 4,392 South African municipal wards. We are particularly proud of all our delegates who participated robustly, including contesting leadership positions without any incident of disruption and violence. There is no better proof of EFF's growth and formidability than the success of the consolidating organizational presence across the entire country. We can now confidently confirm that we are stronger than ever before. We would like to express our profound gratitude to all students in South African institutions of higher learning for voting in their numbers to put the EFF Student Command into the SRCs. This is an important sign of the confidence that the EFF and its ideas enjoy amongst the young intelligentsia across the country. We call on all the EFF Student Command-led SRCs to always, without fail, prioritize poor students and never compromise on academic excellence. We also call on them to work hard in 2019 to turn these SRC election victories into EFF votes. Furthermore, we call on all students of Wits University to go online in their numbers today and tomorrow and vote for the EFF Student Command. Let UPEPELA land at Wits University like it did in UJ and UNISA to claim all Johannesburg University campuses to economic freedom in our lifetime. We note the Job Summit convened by the government as part of the plethora of conferences, indicative of the sad reality that President Ramaphosa's government has got no plan for the country's problems. Our immediate view in relation to the threat of job losses looming in many sectors of our country's economy is that we should pass a Job Protection Act which would outlaw massive retrenchments without exhausting all available options. Above all, a sustainable strategy for creating jobs necessarily begins with a comprehensive state-led industrial development with concrete protection of infant industries. There must be a conscious political will to drive development by the state, otherwise constant dependence on the market will fail, as it has failed in the last 24 years. We are in possession of information suggestive of nepotism and corruption, which occurred in process of licensing independent power producers. This information contains names of prominent people and their companies. At this moment, we are in the process of ascertaining the veracity of the information and exchanging notes with our lawyers to check the legal implication of releasing such information to the public. We welcome the removal of Nhlanhla Nene, former Minister of Finance, and note his replacement with Tito Mboweni. This is one of the major successes of the EFF in dismantling state capture and all those who have enabled it, like in Nhlanhla. He is not the last casualty of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Many are still going to follow, including those who have been portrayed as saviors or who pride themselves as having removed Zuma as president. We know that Mbowene's appointment means that the Pravin Gordhan faction has lost control of Treasury. They blame the EFF to this and are personally bruised. They have since gone on a large media campaign to try and discredit the EFF so that it is silenced in the face of corruption related to them and their kangaroo removal of people without any due process in state-owned institutions. We are neither going to retreat nor surrender. The EFF notes with serious concern the Auditor General findings of irregular expenditure by the National Treasury in the financial year 2017-2018. The Auditor General found that Treasury incurred an irregular expenditure of more than 700 million because proper tender processes were not followed and the expenditure was not properly approved. This includes 67 million spent on goods and services the National Treasury did not receive. We make specific mention of the Treasury because the department has a constitutional mandate to enforce compliance with public expenditure to ensure both transparency and expenditure control and enforce compliance with PFMA. If the Treasury is failing to follow their own rules, they cannot be expected to enforce compliance, and this is part explain why billions are lost through irregular awarding of tenders because others sees the Treasury doing it. The explanation by the DG today at the Standing Committee of Finance that the Treasury couldn't locate the memorandum at the time of the audit as if it's a simple misunderstanding is unacceptable, demonstrate weak controls and exposes the Treasury as failing to be transparent. We have exposed the shenanigans of the Treasury because when they come to the account in Parliament, they behave like law into themselves and don't follow the law even when they promulgate regulations to benefit certain banks. Consultants at Treasury are appointed without competitive bidding but on the basis of connection with certain people, and when raised the matter in Parliament, we are told we are targeting the Treasury unfair. We note the release of the VBS Mutual Bank report and express great disgust at those who have facilitated the collapse of the bank for selfish and self-enrichment purposes at the expense of the poor. VBS Mutual Bank was founded on the deposit of humble rural self-help financial associations like Stokvels and burial societies. The corruption and maladministration, therefore, saw many of the villagers unable to even bury their dead. We therefore reiterate that all those who have been found to have benefited illegally from the bank's collapse must be criminally prosecuted. However, we reject the witch hunt and mob justice that seeks to declare people guilty through the courts of public opinion. The law must take its course and all who are implicated must fully cooperate with law enforcement institutions. The Deputy President of the EFF, Floyd Shivambu, has taken the EFF leadership into confidence in relation to the VBS media claims, and we have no reason to doubt him, more so because he is not mentioned in the official Motaung VBS report. The EFF has not been mentioned in the report, neither has it been accused of any wrongdoing. We note that several persons mentioned in the report are challenging the validity and the lawfulness of the report on the basis that Advocate Motaung did not afford them the right to put their side of the story. Therefore, any pronouncement based on the validity of the report are premature. The enemies of our revolution who wish to see the EFF, which is the only voice of the poor, silenced, are seeking to bring both our Deputy President and the organization through a back door into the VBS saga. We have full confidence in our Deputy President, Floyd Shivambu. We remain united and unshaken by any and all attempts to slow down or discredit the EFF. We reiterate that we reject categorically any suggestion and move to shut down VBS Mutual Bank. The reported amount that has been lost in VBS Mutual Bank is 1.9 billion. We know that the African Bank has lost close to 80 billion, yet it was bailed out by government and other banks. We call on all efforts to focus on saving this bank of the black, poor and rural masses of our people. This must be done to ensure that financial sector does not remain white dominated and untransformed. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now we're going to take the first round of questions from members of the media. So if you are behind cameras, maybe you want to stand so I can see your head. I don't want to discriminate against you. So you'll be number one. Yes. Is there no one else behind there? Okay. You'll be number two, you'll be number three, number four, number five. Okay, it looks like that's the first round. Number one.
Mr. Malema, my name is Peter Britland from News 24. You say that the report into VBS, you feel that people who have been or who are implicated in this needs to be prosecuted by the law, but you also say that that any pronouncement on the veracity of the report is premature. So do you believe the report in certain aspects and certain aspects you don't believe? Do you believe the whole report or only half of the report? How do you judge the report?
Number two, I assume you're done?
Yes.
Okay, yes, number two.
Good afternoon, Mr. Malema. I'm Erlie van Wyk from Dane. I'm Erlie van Wyk from Dane. I have questions for you.
Van Wyk is 10 million.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I have questions for you, sir, but then I also have questions for Mr. Floyd. So, the EFF, have you ever received money from Jamaica, Grand Tanzania, and who are your travel agents and events agents? And can you please help us to understand Mr. Brian Chibambo's role in the EFF? And then Mr. Floyd Chibambo, have you ever...
No, wait, it's Jamaica.
Okay, Jamaica, Grand Tanzania, travel and events agents.
Travel and events.
Two different companies.
I must give you
Who do you use?
our travel agents.
Yes.
Okay.
And can you please help me understand Mr. Brian Chibambo's role in the EFF? The talks that he was with the headquarters.
Yes.
And then Mr. Floyd Chibambo, have you ever received money from Jamaica, Grand Tanzania, Mahuna Investments, and Gulliver's Travels? And then Mr. Malema, you talk about Treasury and the Reserve Bank and that they stepped up. Will you take any action, and if so, can you help us to understand the steps that you will take, especially against the good work the EFF has done in terms of legal cases regarding Zuma, the SABC, and so on?
No, I don't understand that. On Treasury.
So you're talking about the fact, in your perception, Treasury and the Reserve Bank did not do their job properly to curb what has happened in the
Oh,
US.
yes,
Do I understand
yes,
that
yes,
correctly?
yes.
So now I want to ask you, with that in mind, what steps would you take against Treasury and the Reserve Bank to get them in order?
Thank you. Number three. It is you, yes.
Yes, it is. Sangolo Masego from DNC. My question would be directed to both the President and the Deputy President of the EFF. Why would you just take your Deputy President's word as it is without any thorough investigation? You have positioned yourself as an organization that investigates corruption, maladministration, wherever it raises its ugly head. Then why would you take somebody's word just like that without any proper investigation to these very serious allegations, I repeat, allegations that are made against them? And then lastly on this point, because there seems to be this relationship of bad faith between us, but we'd like to apologize to what we put on air yesterday, saying that Mr. Floyd Shivambu, the deputy president of the EFF, has been implicated in this VBS heist
Who's us?
as ENCA, as an organization. I'm going to take it off of the thread. And there is an investigation that's currently ongoing at the office. But with that said, we won't stop from asking you questions without fear or faith. Then I will go to you again, Mr. Shivambu. Do you have any proof that you may provide to us here that you have not received any monies from VBS? And should you be found wanting, what then happens to you? And the last question would be, is the EFF afraid of instituting disciplinary measures against you should these allegations be found to be true, because of the political implications it may have for the party? Thank you.
The EFF afraid question is directed to him.
Ranjit. Number 4.
CIC, I'm Ranjit Wilson from Peace of Lifestyle.
My condolences.
Thank you. Firstly, you said that the Deputy President took the EFF leadership into his confidence about the issue of VBS. Are you able to take South Africa into your confidence and tell us what happened to you? And secondly, I checked your disciplinary code. Under offences, it says corruption, 1.7 is corruption and self-enrichment. But the process of what needs to happen for disciplinary procedures to be proffered on any person, a member or leader, is not really spelled out. So I just want to find out what would it take for disciplinary action to be taken against any member or leader of the EFF? Thanks.
And lastly, number 5.
Hi, Karen Moore. I just wanted to know, at the time, I mean, the EFF has been very outspoken on the issue of VBS. At the time that you released your statement, criticizing staff for placing this institution under curatorship, were you aware that Mr. Brian Shivambu, Mr. Floyd Shivambu's brother, had a personal interest or had received money from Bailey Investments, which is the majority shareholder of the VBS Bank, which we now see has essentially been accused or found to have got that majority shareholding through latent fraud? Was this disclosure made? There's been reporting as well that Mr. Shivambu did not disclose his interest, did not disclose that he may have a personal interest in the VBS matter when he was before Parliament on this issue. Do you believe that he had an appropriate reason not to do so, or can you just give us some insight into the thinking behind why there was not that disclosure?
My sister, you said something about fraud. I missed that.
Basically, they said that Vele Investments had got majority shareholding in VBS Bank.
Oh, yes.
Fraud, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And that is the institution that paid Mr. Shivambu, and he has acknowledged that in his own statement.
We say we know the report, and we say in the statement, many people have said they are going to challenge the report. So it's not for me to say I believe it or not. The implicated people are saying they are challenging the report. So if they are successful, it means the report is null and void. If they are not successful, it means there are bases for law enforcement to move in and start prosecuting people. And we are saying that if this report, it is what it is, the people must be prosecuted without fear or favor. Because anywhere where there is criminality, there must be accountability. We have never received any money from Sgamega or Grand Azania or anything of that sort in the EFF. We have not received any donation from Brian. That is from the preliminary investigation we have done. So if you were to exchange the notes with us and refer us to specific things, maybe we will be able to locate what you are talking about. It becomes very difficult for the EFF to do anything because we are not told where does this information come from. What are you talking about? We just hear that, yeah, there are sources in Reserve Bank which are giving us information, and those are your sources, they are not our sources. They don't exchange the information with us. And I will call upon the Reserve Bank, anyone there who's got any other report other than what we have, to exchange the notes with us so that we can get into this thing. We do not have travel agents as the EFF. We travel from Parliament. All of us who are here, we travel from Parliament. But there will be from time to time where people use different types of travel agents. So there is no travel agent that has got a contractual relationship with the EFF. Let me tell you, for instance, the lawyer, SG, the guy who's got a contract with us, Quinana has got a contractual relationship with the EFF. He's paid a retainer every month. So if you have to go to the EFF now, the treasurer will tell you that it is all types of people. The SG might come with this type of a quotation. The chairperson at times does that with this type of a quotation from a different person, different agent. So we have no any other agent that we have a relationship, travel agent or event. I didn't know events have got agents. We don't have any events agent. We do our own events. We are very good at that. Our events are so beautiful. When you look at them, you may even think we are a ruling party. So that's how good we are with organizing events. So we don't contract anyone for our events. Be printing of posters, we design them ourselves. The stage, we source different types of quotations, and then we take the one that makes sense to us. Artists, Mwiseni is now as a relationship with all types of artists because we negotiate with them ourselves directly. We don't want in between people because they add profit for themselves and it becomes expensive for the EFF. So instead of having an event which will cost you 2 million, it ends up costing you 3 million because they are middlemen in between. So when we want Gear House sound system and stage, we go directly to Gear House. We don't use anyone in between. Well, we're making an observation that everybody else gets blamed, particularly the EFF, as if we're the ones who took 2 billion of VBS. We're questioning where was the Reserve Bank in all that. And I'm asking all of us to be consistent because when there is crime committed and instead it's released that murder has increased, we blame it on police. We say police are useless. Why are police not intervening? Reserve Bank is the police of banks. Where was the Reserve Bank? Why are you vindicating the authorities? Why are the authorities not implicated? Why is there no one in the Reserve Bank who takes full responsibility for this shenanigans? The second point I want to make is that why do we have a face of Brian Shibambo as a face of the VBS loot? When you've got the whole treasurer of a province in Limpopo, when you've got the whole deputy chairperson of the ANC in Limpopo, when you've got the municipalities depositing money, the people today just know the municipalities. They don't know that those are ANC municipalities. You know why? It's because of embedded journalism. To taint the ANC will be equal to tainting Ramaphosa. And we want Ramaphosa to win at all costs, therefore we can't taint Ramaphosa. Brian is not a public representative. Brian is not a mayor. Brian is not a political office bearer in any political office. But his face is everywhere. If I were to ask any journalist here, do you know the face of Denny Musiza? No. Do you know the face of a deputy chairperson of the ANC? No. When the VBS gets reported in relation to the ANC municipalities, a logo of the ANC is not shown in the background. But when you report about the EFF brine, you show the logo of the EFF and all the past press conferences of the EFF. That is biasness. And you think we don't see that. Let me give you an example. There were municipalities in the Western Cape which were involved in irregular expenditure. Do you know what you called them? You said DA municipalities are involved in irregular expenditure. But these municipalities that took the money of the people into VBS, you don't call them ANC municipalities. Why? We cannot taint Ramaphosa. We must discredit the EFF, and Peter Bruce makes it very clear, vote for the ANC white people in order to stop the EFF. This is an agenda to stop the EFF. That's why I'm not even moved or shaken by what is really happening currently, because you can see it's a biased reporting. 16 million to Brian Shibambu. It's now looking like 2 billion. 104 million was deposited in the Free State institution. We're not asking the question, why was that money deposited in 104 million in Free State institution, which is supposed to be some sort of a bank, by the way, is now asking money from VBS. Who benefited from that money? These are the state institutions. These are political office bearers. These are public representatives. You leave all the public representatives. You go after one young man who holds no office at all. You want to create an impression that our deputy president is in the Motaung report. You make mistakes deliberately. You know why? Because you know you will say sorry. After tarnishing images of people, the only thing you can do is sorry, and then that must be enough. What happens to the person who saw that headline on ENCA, and then that person left before you apologized, and today they are at work, they don't hear that apology you are making here? They will leave with an impression that the deputy president of the EFF is implicated in the VBS Motaung report. It's deliberate. And we see it for what it is. Its intention is to discredit the EFF and make sure that the EFF lose support in 2019. Let me tell you, if there is anyone who votes EFF because of Peter Bruce, you can go with Peter Bruce. Reserve your vote. You can take it to the ANC. I don't need an old white man to tell me who to vote for. Never. I will never be told by Peter Bruce who to vote for. I will never listen to Peter Bruce or that other one, the old one, who likes irritating us that he was writing progressive stories during struggle as if Max to breathe, as if we owe him something. They paid him for writing good stories. He was working, it was his job. So I will never listen to such people. They are embedded. So why say Floyd received 10 million? Now, you asked us to take you into confidence as to what did the deputy president of the EFF say to the leadership of the EFF. He brought his financial statement. And we looked at the financial statement. We went through the financial statement. We cannot locate any money from the VBS. We cannot locate any money from Gamega and all those type of things. There are exchanges of monies from him to Brian, from Brian to him, and not only from Brian to him, to his brother Lucky, to his parents. That's how siblings exchange apparently things I wouldn't know. I've got no siblings. I've got no parents to exchange money with. I can't transfer to my grandmother, so I give her cash because she doesn't have the facilities. Even if she has, she doesn't know how to read and write. So the deputy president demonstrated that to us. And it doesn't start, when does the Gamega start in VBS? 2017 or so. The deputy president's statement demonstrates such types of transactions amongst them as family as back as 2014, because we have asked for statement as officials from 2014, as back as 2014. So that's how they've been relating. And we are satisfied. Now, the question is, why are you not taking action against Floyd Shivambu? Based on what? Based on what? This chap from ENCA, what is his name? The apology. Samken. Give me something. I'm not scared of Floyd. I've never been scared of anyone. I'm not scared of Floyd. If Floyd has stolen money, he will be punished accordingly. Give me something that demonstrates that Floyd benefited from the VBS. Now, so we're not afraid of the deputy president, really. We want to act. We want to act. You know, Van Veek, what is the name? Paul. You said he received 10 million. And then when you were taken to task, you said apparently he received 10 million. So I must charge him based on apparently. I can't do that. You cannot support that yourself. Because the day I act on Floyd based on apparently, you are going to write about me that he's getting rid of him because he's going to contest him in conference next year. You're going to create some imaginary battles. But I should be able to say, no, it's not based on the contest. It is based on what we have received. We receive a lot of information. So Brian worked for the EFF. One of the roles he did, and I'm told that the TG says even when he left, from time to time he will come buy merchandise here in the EFF to sell. One of his roles was to sell the merchandise of the EFF. So he established the merchandise office. So he has been an entrepreneur. He came here and said to us, we need to establish a merchandise office. We need to sell merchandise. Brian used to leave the office and go in 2013. Open what do you call it? Open stall at the North taxi rank. And then from there, he left to work for the student command. And then after leaving the student, he designed actually the merchandise of the student command. Because we said to them, look, you always asking money from us. When Brian, you used to sell merchandise in the EFF. Why are you not designing fashionable, likable things of students and go and sell at the universities? I remember that very strongly. He did that. Even after he left the EFF, he continued to come to the office, ask for merchandise, especially if there are events of the EFF or there are events where he thinks he can sell the EFF merchandise and then generate some form of income for the EFF. So he left. He's no longer with us. He's no longer working in the EFF office. So I think confidence also speaks to the DC. There must be a prima facie evidence, Ranjay. In the absence of such, there's nothing we can do. Let there be prima facie evidence. There is nothing tangible. There is nothing I can touch which implicates the deputy president. So let me touch something. The national chairperson It's here as a legal person who knows what needs to be done if a misconduct has been reported. Our VBS position stands that it must not be destroyed. It must be saved. It was formed by Tony Mpepu's father, the king who is implicated. It was formed by his father. That's how Tony got involved with the banks. It is not him. It comes from long time ago. I've got a relationship, by the way, with the king of the vendors. Because tomorrow you must not write and then become a big story. No, he didn't declare he's got a relationship with the king. I can't say he's my friend. It will be disrespectful to refer to a king as your friend. I'm not of a royal blood. Therefore, I do not qualify to have a friend of a king. But I've got a relationship with him. I've had a relationship with him from when I was in Kosas. I grew up under him. He's my brother. And the same as the king in prison, Dalinge. He's my brother. I've got a relationship with him. I make no appointment to go and see Dalinjebo at his royal palace. I wouldn't say the same with the Zulu king, because there's been serious developments now. So we may not find each other. So I think the DP will deal with that, of his interest, his brother's interest in VBS and his participation in the committee when they were dealing with the VBS matter. But Floyd is not the EFF. Neither am I the EFF. The EFF position is very clear on VBS. He had to go and articulate that position. And what he said in the finance committee is exactly what the EFF represents. So that's where we come from. We absolutely want to help. We want, you know what I'm looking for, and I told you this even in the past press conference. I'm looking for a loan book of VBS. Mutaung report doesn't tell you about the loan book. There's a mess in the loan book. And that's what I'm looking for. Since Mutaung has not presented it, if I get hold of it, I'll come and present it here and read name by name of who got the loan from the VBS. It will be very interesting. It will be very interesting. So all we're asking is, and we take full responsibility when it comes to our leadership. Brian is not a leader of the EFF. Neither is Brian a public representative. Let Brian get his fair share compared to the rest. Let everybody mentioned, particularly the ANC. Now, they say the president knew about VBS mess. Already, the embedded journalists are circulating a defense for the president. That no, he didn't know. Otherwise, he would have acted. It's a man of good character and all those type of things. No one says, hey, let's get the evidence to see that no one is saying, no, Ramaphosa has taken money from VBS. No one is saying that. They are saying he knew as a deputy president. Now, after they said, City Press said Ramaphosa knew, evidence must be produced. Why is the City Press saying Ramaphosa all over the story with a source? But not even a single source is mentioned on Ramaphosa. Single source on Ramaphosa is not mentioned. It's a problem. But no single source for Daily Maverick Napoli for 10 million. No single source. It's not needed. But for Ramaphosa, there must be a single source. At least a single source. Let's be fair. That's what we are asking. Corruption must never be covered up. Corruption must be fought. But please, let's be fair. Let's work together in exposing the shenanigans. Why should I go tomorrow to an interview by Peter Bruce, who says whites must vote ANC? It's not objective. Against the EFF. The only way to prevent the EFF is by voting the ANC. I don't understand why does he even think that the whites vote for the ANC will stop the EFF. Because the EFF vote doesn't come from the whites. We don't get votes from white people. No single political party of black people gets votes from white people. So the DA must be worried. He's attacking the DA. So, because the DA is the one that is voted for by white people. DP?
No, thanks, President. And I think we have put a lot of things into clearer perspective. But want to give a clearer context of the role that we have been playing in the Standing Committee on Finance. When African Bank was placed under curatorship, with a far much exposure to losses than VBS is, I think that was in 2015. The decision was taken by the Reserve Bank to recapitalize African Bank. So the curatorship already came with a check of 10 billion rand to recapitalize African Bank so that the depositors' monies and exposure to the bank is not exposed. And of course, we raised the concerns that time. You will be able to see that in the parliamentary reports where we had raised concerns in terms of the scope of the interventions which the South African Reserve Bank, the PIC and other banks made in the recapitalization of the African Bank. But it happened, and we then said that let's have a process of having African Bank back into stability. So when the intention to place VBS Mutual Bank under curatorship was articulated, our immediate demand was that because VBS mostly is supported by rural masses, or rural people, and it is engaged in giving some sort of rural mortgage, meaning that they were able to give housing loans to people who were staying in rural areas. All other banks do not do that. We then say that the interventions that have to be made on VBS must come with the recapitalization from the beginning, so that the bank operations are not disrupted, remove the directors of VBS, remove the management of VBS, and make sure that the curatorship still protects the depositors. That is the position that we consistently took from the beginning. And the intention was to protect the depositors, the people who had put their money in VBS. And that is how things were done in the past. And we're making reference in that context. And that is the argument that we made. But the Reserve Bank took a decision to place it under curatorship without any form of recapitalization. And then the second component which we then spoke about was that what has been the role, one, of National Treasury, what has been the role of the Reserve Bank in preventing the collapse of VBS Mutual Bank? Because we have recently passed legislation called the Financial Services Regulation Act. They call it Twin Peaks and everything else, with a prudential authority. And part of the fundamental functions of a prudential authority, the regulatory authority, is to prevent the collapse of banks. That legislation was passed specifically to prevent the collapse of banks. What has been the role of the National Treasury? What has been the role of the prudential authority in preventing the collapse of banks? I'll tell you why we have to emphasize the role of National Treasury. Because this mutual bank, VBS, and the Grahamstown Building Society, which is a mutual bank, have been receiving municipal deposits from 2014, and National Treasury knew about it. The person who is supposed to oversee that municipalities are not exposed to wrong financial practices, including receiving or taking money from mutual banks, is Ismail Momoniat. And we raised that strongly, that why is it that from 2014, we have been allowing this bank to accumulate a huge component of its deposits from municipalities, when you say later on that municipalities are not supposed to take municipal deposits. Instead of trying to wind down the municipal deposits that were in VBS, a quick decision was taken that let us promptly withdraw all the money from municipalities, and then the bank collapsed without recapitalization. Hence the frustrations in the branches and the operations of VBS. That is what happened, and this is the truth that happened. Then when you deal with the issue of curatorship, you must look into the roles of National Treasury, into the roles of the Prudential Authority, because the Reserve Bank year on year kept on saying that the liquidity and capital adequacy of VBS Mutual Bank is adequate, it's enough, there's no problem. Why do you only realize when you have placed the bank under curatorship that it was not liquid, it didn't have the necessary liquidity in terms of dealing with the banking services that it had to provide? And that is why we had said, let us look into a holistic picture of how bank regulation happens. And that is the position that we constantly raised. And even when the bank was under curatorship, we constantly said that let us recapitalize the bank, let the state provide the guarantee to recapitalize the bank, so that the depositors are not subjected to another bank in the manner in which Nedbank was given the depositors of VBS without a competitive bid by the curator, because the curator just sat on the laptop and said we choose Nedbank. No reasons provided for that. Why? Because they want to give Nedbank some stronghold in Limpopo, which it has been struggling to have access for the longest time. And Nedbank, it's not the best of banks, it is not the cheapest of banks in terms of the clientele that VBS had, but they just appointed it. And then we raised that, we even wrote a letter to the governor in that regard. And the other issue, which, by the way, we raised with the governor of the Reserve Bank and the Reserve Bank in total in the curatorship process, was how are you going to save the jobs in VBS, and how are you going to pay the curators, because you are the ones who have placed the bank under curatorship in order to save it. And we have got it on good authority that since the curator has taken over, they've been paying themselves from VBS money 2.6 million to themselves from a bank which they say is in strain, cannot pay salaries, cannot do this, but they've been paying themselves. SNG and the Indian guy who is the curator there, paying themselves 2.6 million rand minimum for curatorship services. And then later on they want to blame everyone else in terms of what happened. And we do not deny the wrongdoing that has characterized the directors and the management of VBS. That is why then throughout, so you can go to all the parliamentary records. The good thing about Parliament is that it has got records and even verbatim recordings of what we say there. We constantly said that those that did wrong in VBS must be held accountable. Must be held accountable. If it means that they must be arrested, let them be arrested based on their wrongdoing in terms of what happened. It is not only now that we have got to raise those issues. Now, I got to pay detailed attention to the contractual relationship which my younger brother had with Vera Investments only after this issue came now that he had a contract or he benefited from VBS. And I saw in the contract that he was providing consulting and advisory services on the non-banking assets of VBS. Not VBS, of Vera Investments. So Vera Investments is a holding company which, amongst other things, owned VBS but owns mines. It owned a company called Insure Group. It owned Bupilo Life, which is an insurance company. It owned an asset management company called Mvunalala. And all those assets were acquired during the process of the advisory services that I said took have happened and taken place. Anyone who knows what are the costs involved with advisory services, transactional advisory services, you will know. You must just go and ask the PIC how much have they paid on transaction advisory services for each and every deal that happens there when you're purchasing a business. I got to know about that when I got to pay closer and detailed attention to what has been your relationship with Vere, and discovered that he was involved with advisory services that are non-banking related. So there was nothing to disclose about. There was nothing to disclose about that, about VBS when we're dealing with the issue of VBS. In any way, our intervention on VBS was not in an attempt to save the shareholders that time. It was not in an intention to save the directors of VBS. Our interest was that let the Reserve Bank take the bank under curatorship, recapitalize it, make sure that the depositors are not endangered. And then when the bank is fully saved, like African Bank is fully saved now, you can dispose it to other capable black owners. That is what we said. That is what we consistently said in the committee, and we've never hidden that. We never said that there must be protection of the shareholders of VBS so that they can continue to give us money and all of those other things. It's a misunderstanding which is deliberate in terms of these issues.
Sure.
Now, just to close on this issue of the president is correct that we have exposed all the information that we have. There has never been any 10 million that came into my account. So, the misleading information which Daily Maverick has is deliberate. It's part of the whole propaganda machinery to do all of these things. We can challenge this Paulie Van Veek to bring us the so-called evidence that I received 10 million. It's pure insanity. It's madness of people who want to say that we received 10 million. If let's say, let's leave being a journalist, be a patriot in South Africa and go to a police station and say, here's the evidence that Floyd Shivambu received 10 million from VBS. Go to the police station and report that. There will never be any such. Also, the bank that I bank with would have called me in if I received 10 million rand to ask me, on what basis are you receiving 10 million rand? Because the regulations that deal with money movements in South Africa places an obligation on banks to caution its customers and its clients on the monies that are coming there and are not explained. I've never been called by the bank saying that come and explain some 10 million which is not existing anywhere. So let us just dismiss the insanity that came from Daily Maverick. It's part of the agenda of the establishment that seeks to undermine the efforts that we're putting. And of course they want to somehow weaken our position, because before the Standing Committee on Finance now, there are 3 private members' bills that are tabled by the Economic Freedom Fighters. 1 is the Banks Amendment Bill, 2 is the South African Reserve Bank Amendment Bill, and then 3 is the General Anti-Tax Avoidance Bill. And almost all of these issues speak to the banking system and money movements and taxation and everything else there. So they want to get an opportunity that every time we justify for the passing of this legislation, they would always shout VBS. Yeah, you took money from VBS. We never took any money from VBS. And anyone who thinks that we did so is mad. Thank you very much.
You know, I just want to make one point very clear. We are aware that it's Pravin's group that is behind this. That's how Pravin survives.
Yeah.
He fights extremely dirty with information, and Pravin thinks we're scared of him. Pravin thinks that we don't know that the rogue unit is still in operation.
Yeah.
You must go and check Werkman's report. It says it has delegated BCPS to do the investigation, to do the forensic. Go and check who's working for BCPS. Go and check who is in the BCPS. They manipulate information. They are continuing with what they've done before. And the president must never allow Pravin to capture him. The president is going to commit extremely serious mistake because Pravin, working with the rogue unit, they continue to fight anyone else who doesn't shout their names. I know members of the rogue unit. The rogue unit existed. Leave what Sunday Times is saying, man. Leave it. I know what's happening in Sunday Times. I know the editor of Sunday Times was a partner with a politician to apply for a TV license in MultiChoice. And this politician was a partner with the Sunday Times editor. Is a politician who's very close to Pravin. We know what they're trying to do. We know what they're trying to do. The rogue unit existed. So, some of the lawyers, when my tax issues started, the lawyer I used had a very close relationships with the rogue unit. And I was asked that for me to get my issues resolved, I must go and see the big boys in Stellenbosch. And I asked, who are the big boys? They said, the Rupees. I said, I will never do it. You can kill me. I won't do it. I've never done it. The rogue unit is existing, and Polly, you ought to be extremely careful because they are going to manipulate information. They are going to manipulate information. They break houses of people.
Yes.
They break houses of people. They broke into Floyd's house. And we decided not to talk about it. They broke into Floyd's office. They listen. And that's what the president, I'll be writing a letter to the president to act decisively on that. They listen to the phones of people illegally, the same way the Guptas did. They follow people. Go and read the Prasa report by BCPS. They say part of what they were doing was to follow people. Who's got the mandate to do that in South Africa? Who's got the mandate to do that? So we are back to where we are. But I'm happy with the appointment of the president. I don't agree with Tito Mbowe. I know he can be he's liberal. He can be very difficult. He's a brother of mine. Me and him, we fight all the time. But I'm happy with this appointment because Pravin will never tell Tito what to do. Tito will tell Pravin, I'm an economist. You're not going to come here with pharmacist qualification to tell me how to run an economy. He argues like that. None of them, and not even the president, can tell Tito what to do. Maybe Thabo Mbeki, because Tito is very scared of Thabo Mbeki. Maybe Thabo Mbeki. But the rest of this bunch here of non-thinkers, no one can tell Tito what to do. And we call upon Tito not to listen to Pravin. The most dangerous man here is Pravin Gordhan. And we're on his case. We're on his case because let's win each other politically through power of persuasion. Not blackmail, not intimidation and scaring tactics. Because some of us, if you come with that type of an attitude, we become resolute, we become unreasonable. It has got everything else. You know why? Just listen to this. Looting of VBS is the same as looting of Limpopo. Where Pravin put journalists in a bus, took them to a press conference in Limpopo like this, and then went to smear people. When he wanted to respond, all journalists were in a bus back to Joburg. You have no platform. That's Pravin. That's Pravin. So we are engaged with Pravin politically because we know whose agenda is Pravin serving. Now, we fight Nene because Nene lied. And we told you this long time ago. Then you go into corners and say, no, they are now fighting for battles for Zuma. Rena. Rena. Rena reberekela Zuma Rena. Ngambere ukhwem. We'll rather die than work for Zuma. We have information on these people. Blade in Zimande must go to the commission and answer truthfully. That's what I said to Nene. Answer truthfully. He never answered. Answer truthfully. Let Blade go to the commission and answer truthfully. Because we want to demonstrate to you that it's not only the group, the Zuma group that is rotten to the core. The whole of the ANC in totality is messed up. So we're showing you two groups. When we expose these two groups, you say now they are fighting Zuma's battles. That is laziness to think. We'll never fight Zuma's battles. We are the ones who are in court with our own money saying Zuma must pay for his own costs. Why would you, when you are fighting for Zuma, still say Zuma must pay for his own costs? We are fighting for that because the day they say guilty on Zuma, even in the criminal court, we are going to push a motion in Parliament of impeachment. Remember, we can still impeach. Impeachment means Zuma will lose the benefits. Now he goes around with the state bodyguards and resources to plot against the same state. We ought to take those things, but we must have a reason why. Even if it's Zuma, we must have a reason why. So Pravin and the mob, Ferial is here, right? They are very angry because Ferial and them, their line was that Nene's not going anywhere. Ferial honestly defending a person who lied, and as if lying to a journalist it makes it better. We can't allow that. So they were very angry when Nene left. You know what they did? Adrian Bosson, instead of announcing that Nene left, Adrian Bosson went to NPA and asked, where is that decision of Malema? You said you were going to take a decision in August whether you are recharging him or not. His tweet following Nene's resignation was that NPA has not yet taken a decision to charge Malema. That was a response to Nene. When Nene resigned, instead of Adrian writing a comprehensive story about Nene, he goes to ask about Malema's charges. There is no problem, but the coincidence is very interesting. And then Ranjeni has got a bereavement, she can't tweet and all that, but she's got time to tweet about this press conference. Or don't even think about it because this is what he's going to do. So, preempting us and trying to render us useless. But I'm unable to respond because of my African culture. Man. When people are in a different situation, it doesn't matter what they do, you ought to be sympathetic. Tweeting an article, you don't have time to tweet. 100 and what? With tweet. 280 now. Yeah. And then to write an article with more than 1,000 words. You can't tweet, but you can write. So many ways when it comes to the EFF and VBS. And I must say this is an objective reporting. So like the ENCA reporter said, we've got this type of relationship. We are not enemies. We are going to consistently show each other our inconsistencies. Even on the story you are reporting, you are trying to show us that you are inconsistent This is what you are doing on other people, but when it comes to you, you act differently. And we are here to respond and say, no, it's not true. It's not true. So we don't see this as an enmity. We see this as a consistent contestation of ideas in society. And that's why we have no reason to be angry about it. Yeah, Chair.
Thank you, President. I just wanted to
My
make pen. Three quick points. The first one is the one about it's been answered. Why have we not taken disciplinary action? It's very simple. I think we take disciplinary action. The code of disciplinary process that you read was written by us in consultation with other people. And it simply says that there must be a complaint and there must be prima facie evidence. A complaint, you don't have to be a member of the EFF Poly. If you have a complaint and evidence, you can bring it to the SG and he acts as a pro forma complainant, and then the person will be charged. So anybody, any South African who knows about 10 million can come and do it there. The second one is, the ENCA looks like you're going to spend all your time apologizing to us. Because now you say, why did we not have an investigation? You've just been told we had an investigation, we were given documents, we went through them, so you must apologize again. Yeah. And then we're also waiting for police apology on the 10 million. So we don't want to have press conferences where you are just apologizing to us. The second point is that our source of funds, what are the sources of funds for the EFF? We have 5 primary sources of funds. And I must add this, that when private companies wanted to give us donations, some of them, we actually rejected them because we don't want to get into all this kind of, I won't mention names, but some of the big companies will tell you that we turn back their money. Our source of funds are very simple. Subscriptions from our members who pay 10 Rand to join. The second one are donations by members, and they come in cash or in kind. What do we mean by in kind? I, for example, I can say I've donated as a member to the EFF. How? When I fly to places, instead of asking the EFF to pay for me, I pay for myself. And the other day I got a big bill of 92,000 and my eyes were popping out. And so I paid that bill just for flying. That, if you like, is a donation that I've indirectly made to the EFF. So our members make donations all the time. So if it was Brian or Guthridge Godi or whoever, it didn't matter to us that a member has made a donation. But we have not found such a donation in this case. But what I'm saying is that if it was there, we wouldn't hide it because it happens all the time. The other form of donation we get from members are what I might call, strictly speaking, not donations because it's compulsory, are the deductions that we get from our public representatives. All our public representatives, from the president downwards to the lowest councillor, contribute a portion of the money that they receive every month to the EFF. So that's another source. And then we get IEC grants because of we are a parliamentary, we are a party in office. And then we get grants from Parliament as well. Those are the 5 sources of our funding. And we don't have money. We wish we had all this money you claim that we had here. The last point is this thing about VBS. Our position on VBS is a principled stand, as the Deputy President has said, which is directly aimed at the depositors. You know, the biggest banking bailout that happened in the last 10 years was $700 billion paid by Barack Obama to save the banks of America after they were defrauded in the Enron scandal. Massive fraud. If you call this thing a heist, I don't know what you will call the fraud that was done by Enron. Barack Obama didn't say, no, those people of Enron stole the money and so on. He said, I'm going to save the depositors. I'm going to take $700 billion, not rands, and bail out those banks so that they can continue to function to save the people of America. That's all we're saying on VBS. Bail the bank out with that $2 billion of our money, arrest the criminals, and pursue the money. Actually, some of them you must put civil claims to get back some of the money. But in the meantime, bail the bank out and save our people in Venda who have been swindled. And I don't know what's that got to do with Momoniat and all those things that Karen Mon was writing about.
And attack on treasury.
Treasury. I mean, it's honestly, people, let's not make spurious connections about things that have nothing to do with each other. And we'll make that call, we reiterate it, that bank must be bailed out, and the money must be recovered, and the criminals must be arrested. Simple. Thank you.
And Karen says the EFF has not responded.
Oh,
it's never
silent.
Even after releasing a statement.
Oh, please, don't, anybody who writes that the EFF, no. No. Okay. No. Okay, Karen. It's not personal. Okay.
We'll start with you, Karen.
Okay, just
in the second round.
Okay.
No, let's just talk about this thing of silence. Yeah. Okay. Can I just? Okay, it's not about Karen. All every paper, including the editorial of the Business Day yesterday, has said that the EFF is silent on this VBS saga. I mean, unless if I don't know English. VBS report came on Wednesday. Hussein issued a statement on that day from the EFF, that guy. The following day, Brian Shivambu issued a statement. According to you, is also from the EFF. We always put him with that care, yeah? On the following, that same day, myself, ENCA, interviewed by ENCA, I spoke about, we are not a burial society. Wara, 20 rand. Hey. On the following day, the deputy president of the EFF was on SABC. Hey. And then we told you, we're going to see you on Tuesday, 5. Silence.
The EFF is silent.
Call that silence, please, people. Let's just.
And Power FM even joined.
Yeah.
When I thought I was listening to 702.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Power.
Yeah. So today they said we're finally going to break our silence. So, anyway, thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Let's start with Karen. Yeah, but I have to point other people here. So you will be number 1. CV number 2, number 3, number 4. Number 5, number 6, I'm waiting for new voices before I take the people who have spoken. Anyone else? This may very well be the last round.
Sure.
So number 6 and then, you'll be number 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so Paula, you'll have the cake. Yes, number 1.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify, Mr. Shivambu, you are saying there's no onus on you to disclose. Am I correct? Because at the time that you were in Parliament over the BBS issue, you did not in fact know that your brother had been receiving the 16 million rand in advisory service payments from Lele, and who is BBS's majority shareholder. And you're also saying that you did need to disclose anyway because those are all non-banking advisory services. I'm just trying to clarify if that is in fact what you are saying. And then obviously, one can imagine Mr. Lele, you've said, he's not there on his personal behalf. You kind of tried to suggest that maybe there isn't really an onus on him to disclose even if he was aware of that connection. But you guys have been outspoken in this issue. And the optics of it, and that's what I think you really need to answer to, is that this interest that you've had in this matter has been driven perhaps not or placed solely by the depositor's interest, but because of this connection. I just want to ask Mr. Shivambu, how old is your brother? Because I know there's been a lot of...
He's 30 years old.
He's 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he got 16 million rand over this period, and we see in the report that these consultancy agreements were used as illicit mechanisms. There's overwhelming evidence. Do you believe that those payments were innocent? Do you believe that there was anything untoward about them? And I'm essentially asking you to answer whether you believe your brother is completely innocent of any wrongdoing, whether witting or unwitting, whether he knew or he didn't. That's what I'm asking. Whether that man was duly sued to him. That's what I'm asking.
I think what the Deputy President is saying, Karen, is very clear, that sitting here, I don't think there was conflict of interest, and therefore there was no need for him to recuse himself, because his brother did not have any relationship with VBS. He had a relationship with Vele. Now that we know Vele is a shareholder in VBS, it still doesn't make him to be conflicted. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in that. And I'm happy that the DA has reported him to the Ethics Committee in Parliament. Let the Ethics Committee find that he was conflicted by sitting on that meeting. Because our brothers and our relatives are involved in a lot of transactions. And some of them are business people in their own right. Some of them are priests and all that. So when it comes to discussing an act that is supposed to regulate the religious affairs, we can't do that. We can't do that. So we don't think he was conflicted at all. That's with regard to the conflict.
Shall we go? But also, just quickly, Hussein, is that report, the report on VBS, doesn't say anything about the money movements of branch members. It just lists him as one of the recipients of what they call gratuitous payments and everything else, without saying what happened and everything else. And he says in his statement that he was not called to come and explain what is the context of the payments that happened there. I do not know what is the permissible age for people to enter into business and make what amounts of money. Yeah, I do not know. If there's a law about that, I'm sure it's an unlawful law.
No, but the other thing is that Motaung himself says, Karen, he does not pronounce on the guilty of anyone. He doesn't. So it will be wrong of us to sit here based on a report that is not pronouncing guilty on anyone, for us to say it was wrong for a 30-year-old to have generated money because the report says so. No. He doesn't say in his report that Brian has done the following illegal things. That's why we are interested in law enforcement. We are more interested in law enforcement. Maybe it will unearth a lot. But what makes us more worried is the fact that these people were not spoken to. I mean, if we are speaking justice, natural justice, just to ask them, what have you done for receiving this money? So that he can explain. Maybe if Brian was given an opportunity by Motaung will not even have arrived at a conclusion of putting Brian's name there. You know, South African media and South Africans, we must never make people guilty before the due process. Even in a stadium, FNB, if a person takes out a gun and shoots at a person in front of everyone else, he's still innocent. And all of us can pass judgment that, no, this person has killed that person, he must go to jail, and only to be told in court that, no, he's got mental situation. At the time he was shooting, he was not himself. That time we concluded that this person is guilty. South African laws do not work like that. I think there was a case where Pravin and the group complained that someone arrived at a conclusion without listening, without giving them an opportunity to be heard. So we cannot have a law for others that they must be heard and others must not be heard. And what is worse, let's talk about the chairperson of Vele. Motaung makes an extremely wrong assertion. He says, what Matodzi? In Matodzi's case, it was too obvious. There was no need to talk to him.
Yeah.
What do you call that, Polly, in law? It is too obvious. He shot this person in front of people. It's too obvious. There's no such a law. Even if it sounds obvious, you must still subject it to a process. Part of the process is you must hear the other side. They've got a Latin word for it.
Audi alteram partem.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah, that one. That one. Thank you, sir.
Can I just quickly, Karen, just answer this. If the Deputy President, one of the other siblings of the Deputy President, did a consultancy job for FNB or Standard Bank, and over a period of 14 months and 10 million, 20 million, whatever it is, as a lawyer or whatever it is, then when Standard Bank is being discussed in Parliament, must the Deputy President recuse himself?
I would imagine so. It's interesting.
Just because one of his siblings works for Standard Bank or FNB?
No.
Okay. No, thank you. No, then I understand you. Yeah.
It's a very different situation. This is in the context of youth payments which need to be used. And I'm not saying that's what happened with Mr. Shibabu's brother. We don't have that evidence today.
All right.
But it's that was an awareness that he had that his brother may be impacted by this. Then he had a personal interest in the matter.
We don't know what you mean. And we don't agree with you, because otherwise that parliament is not going to exist. It's not going to exist because we discuss all of you in that parliament. Every sphere of life gets to be discussed in parliament. And our sisters, our wives, our brothers, our relatives, our friends are involved in those type of things. And how do you then come to a conclusion that you have to recuse yourself? Okay, why is the question not asked to the ANC people? Since your leaders are implicated in Limpopo, why didn't you recuse yourself?
The chair of the committee.
Yes, the chair of the committee. Your leaders in Limpopo are conflicted. They are comrades. Comrades is brothers. So how do we draw the line? How do we draw the line? So we believe that by virtue of sitting in parliament, you are a professional politician, and you must at all times act honorably and objectively. And that's what Floyd has done. Floyd has not on a single day in that committee said any director, any shareholder should be protected. All we said was the depositors must be protected. We repeat that case today. No one should lose money from VBS. Tito and the president must make sure that that bank is saved and the depositors get their money, and all implicated people, including Brian. If there is any wrongdoing, let law enforcement take action. And if our deputy president is going to be implicated, or any of us, let law enforcement deal with the matter. Yeah.
Number 2, Masidi Sumanyes.
TV from News 24. My question is not even about VBS, it's actually about the State Capture Commission. When is the EFF going to go? You know, the one thing about the EFF is before Tanzania, you said you had one up on him. And the one thing that Deputy Justice asked is those who know information, please come forward. When is the EFF going? I mean, now you're speaking about Blade today. So when are you actually going to go? My second question, I mean, the last time I asked about the media and the EFF, I was told I'm catching feelings. But my question really is, there's a mob according to you, there's this, that. There are channels to go and complain about unethical journalism. And unethical journalists, surely you guys, surely. You're very quick to act. Khalika Chale, you acted this week. You're very quick to act. Why not use those channels, those platforms? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, TV number 3.
No, the state capture, we will not go to the state capture until we have lined up all these tasks. So they are going, and we are monitoring them. We are working with the state capture, by the way. I've met them. I have given them pointers. I have given them names of people who can help them
with evidence. I've met the state capture myself.
But you're not going to go as a political party.
We will go. We will go. Remember, in politics, time and space is very important. You don't just pupurua and then the next thing you unleash everything and then you become irrelevant in the process.
Yeah.
You see?
No,
you unleash kancane kancane. Kancane kancane. You unleash kancane kancane. And then that's what keeps you relevant, because if you unleash too much, then they are going to write an article, EFF is irrelevant now. You see? Remember, we are struggling with relevance in your eyes all the time. You said Zuma is gone, the EFF is finished. Look at Nene today. So you must never do that. That's why I'm saying the 1652 mob can never determine the destiny of the EFF. The 1652 mob is the mob that wants to continue the interest of colonialism. And we're not going to allow that. So they've got no role. The 1652 mob will be defeated.
Yes.
I can tell you that. The 1652 mob wrote us off before. We're still here today to demonstrate to 1652 mob that we've got no time for those who are continuing with the legacy of colonialism and apartheid. So media, I mean, what do I gain from reporting Ranjeni? Because me and her were going to fight. Even when we leave here, we're going to call each other and scream at each other, and then life goes on. That's how it is. We have that type of...
She has no money. Huh? You're also claiming this unethical behavior.
Claiming?
Where?
That's what you're saying.
The Sunday Times says so as well. It says
yes.
people...
Yes. Okay, let's take the Sunday Times story, for instance. They've apologized, right? And then they've expelled Mzilikazi and the other one. Now, I'm more interested in our brother Mzilikazi. Now, those people that Mzilikazi and the other one reported wrongly, and they lost jobs, they lost everything else, what is the recourse for them? And we are going to waste a lot of money. That letter I wrote to Kachalia costed me money. So imagine if I do that when I see busy, when I go Ranjeni, go Ferele, go Hashra, you are too many. So we must just continue to engage like that, until we find each other. We'll find each other. There is no way we can't find each other. That's how robust the debate is in our country, where we think that these comrades are acting in a manner that is biased. It might not be unethical. It might not be unethical, but it might be biased. You can hear that this one is pursuing a certain narrative, like ENCA did this morning. They were playing my video of the Youth League press conference where I was chasing out the white journalist. What you can see what they are trying to do. You can see what they are trying to do. So if you are going to have a headache about that, where am I going to report that? They are showing me the old picture when I was big and yes, sir.
All right, let's go to number 3 because this line is particularly long. Otherwise, also I'm going to be rendered irrelevant here, Mr. President.
Oh, sorry.
Number 3, do you have the mic? Oh, is that you? Yeah, that's about to.
Mr. Shinabu, you explained, the issue on the advisory services that you would provide, actually, did for Vele investments. But given that Vele is heavily implicated in this VBS scandal, is he prepared to return that money? The House are investigating now. Is he prepared to return it if it is proven that part of the money that Vele investments paid in was actually part of the money that Vele looted from VBS? And will you ask him to make that commitment to say he's ready to return it if it was received illegally? So that's my first question. that you were making light of the issue. I mean, you said there's no, why should you go and ask them? But he's explained himself now, going through the bank statement. Isn't there a responsibility on you as the leadership, when there are serious allegations, whether true or not, to ask your colleague in the top leadership, whether to explain themselves and give their version of the story? What did you mean by that? Did you still stand by it, that there's no responsibility on your part? Thank you so much.
Shall I go on?
Yeah.
Number 4?
Yes, I'm number 4.
Yes, sir. I don't think we can see if there's a change I want to try.
Yeah.
Sorry, these cameras are silencing.
My name is Shobik Du. I'm from Japan's public broadcast NHK. And well, you're right that in Japan the cameramen are behind the reporters.
Yeah.
Something that I now discovered in this country. I'm based in Jordan. My question is about the land issue. I know that the local journalists have a very different agenda, but allow me this question again.
Yes.
I'm now producing a story about land issue in South Africa. Yes, land issue in South Africa. Yesterday we covered an event that was organized by AfriForum, where farmer victims were making a press conference, and they were saying that their target audience is the international audience. One of the members was particularly saying that they wanted to address this issue to the USA, and namely the US President Donald Trump. What is the reaction that there is a group that is attempting to internationalize this issue, addressing more to the global audience? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 5. Yes, sir. Don't wait for the mic. Don't wait. Don't wait. Yeah, we can hear you.
Good afternoon. I'm Carl Crouch from News 24 Investigations. I've got a few questions, so please bear with me.
Sure.
Yes.
President Malema, you've asked for the media to be fair.
Yeah.
So let's be fair. Let's ask a fair question.
Sure.
Why did the EFF not start investigating BBS the day that there were allegations that there was fraud in the bank? The EFF is an anti-corruption crusader. It is against corruption. It wants to protect the depositors of the bank. It has never investigated BBS. It has never come out and said, hey, these are the guys who are guilty, like you do with everything else. That's my first question. Then my second question is, Deputy President Shivambu, your brother has confirmed that you received money from Vele Investments for, it was consultancy he did for mining insurance. Now, I don't know what your brother's experience in mining insurance is. That's not what I'm really worried about. What draws my attention is that you said there's no conflict of interest here. If you read Terry Motao's report, you'll see that the money Vele was using to make its acquisition, to spread the money around, it was PBS money, it was depositors' money, it was money that was deposited from those municipalities. Does the issue of conflict of interest then not arise? Because it's not Vele Investments money, it's VBS money, it's just being channeled out of the bank. So, Deputy President Shivambu, what I would really ask you is, please can you confirm to us on the record that you have done a proper look at your own financials, the money that the President Malema has confirmed and said, look, my brother and I exchanged money, we loan each other money, that's how siblings operate. Have you done a proper check to look at your own financials and say that none of the money that came from your brother came from Vele or VBS? And if you did, what action would you take?
Number 6. Yes.
Shade Bryan from the Daily Talk. Mr. Malema, as you know, former student leader Mr. Lamini is running for ANC UK president.
Good.
So
Different topic.
with students yesterday, but a lot of them, both PYA and EFF-SC have made comparisons between you and Mutebo. What do you have to say about that?
Are you done?
They're comparing him to me.
Okay, number 7.
Good afternoon, Michael from NCA. My question is for
Okay, guys, no fighting here. Are you okay? We listen to each other.
Let's be ethical now.
Yeah. Cameraman, are you fine? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a wall.
Okay, my question is for Mr. Shivambu. I'm sorry,
Don't enter.
this has been answered and I haven't found it, but
Sorry.
could you confirm, do you receive, Mr. Shivambu, a single source income from being a member of parliament? Companies and you're active in others. Are you only deriving your income from being a member of parliament? Can you confirm that on the record? And your father is quoted as saying that he works with your brother in a company, are you in any way linked to any of your brother or your father's businesses that you derive an income from? Thank you.
Okay, number 8. Yes.
You can't deny your father.
No, you never said that. Okay, number 8.
Exactly. Okay. Just now, you said we must never make people guilty before due process. Okay. So you made several allegations just that today. For example, you say that the road unit is still in operation. Now that's very serious for our country if there is a road unit. You're saying that a minister in cabinet is involved with this road unit and involved in illegality. Now what is your prescribed remedy to deal with that? You cannot make allegations just in a press conference and leave it at that, because obviously that's a danger to democracy. And then you also been making allegations about the media and journalists. So I'm not sure, for example, if I'm in the 1652 or 1860 mob, because my ancestors only came and indentured later in 1860, not 1652. So this allegation of a mob, it makes us all guilty by association of something. So I wouldn't come to a press conference and ask, how old is your brother? Because he's a black man who's 30 years old, there must be something wrong. I would never ask that. So why must I be guilty of through association with other people and what they ask? So that's what I'm saying to you. Is it not your responsibility to prescribe a remedy for all these things that you are pointing out are wrong?
Okay.
Somebody from the ACA, United States, and says, no apology.
Sure. Okay. Fine.
Also, you talk about IPPs, Mr. Manelu, and you say you will not be revealing all the information now, but there is evidence. What is this evidence that you have? And can you take the nation into your confidence on this information that you have? And also to point out some inconsistencies in your part. You say that we, as the media, have splashed Brian's face all over papers and television. But we did the same with Sabo Nene, Kaganeni's son. We did the same with Tuguzale Duma, Jacob Zuma's son. We've done it on a number of occasions to implicated individuals. So this inconsistency that you are showing on our part also comes on your part as well. That this engagement that we have, there needs to be some sort of media understanding from politicians' part, rather than just coming out and disregarding media petitions. We do have flaws, we apologize for our flaws, but also we will hold you as politicians accountable for your inconsistencies that you may portray. And then thirdly, when it comes to the issue of BDS and Brian Shiva, are you not concerned that your member and the former employee of the EFF Student Commanders Administrator in your statement is implicated when a serious allegation member is implicated in the nature of so serious? Thank you.
Okay. Your case is ready.
It's Paulina Beck from Dave Maverick. Mr. Siasi Malema, can you help me understand when anyone pays a donation into the EFF account, so that the money comes from the person's account to your account, and who has in here and in the EFF, I'm obviously going to tell them. So there's also a structure of saying, CIC, I gave you a donation, I hope you see it. So can you help me understand that whole line of money being deposited into the EFF? Then Mr. Flojabambo, I think we all know that we will not see on Mr. Brian Shibambo's his bank statements a 16000. We're not seeing that figure. We're seeing several payments. Same with the ticket. But then I have a question for you, sir. If Mr. Brian Shibambo paid for life events in your life, for your lifestyle and so on, would you, in your mind, think that is normal or that it's out of the normal? And how would that relationship between you and your brother work for if he pays you for things and you told Mr. Peter Ndoro that there were loans between the two of you? How would you service those loans? And does he borrow money from you? How does that sibling relationship work? And then last thing, just to catch on to Karen's Can you just help me in my mind to understand this unambiguously? Did you know when Brian signed the contract in December 2017, what he was busy with before, how much money has he gotten from Vele, and what services Mr. Brian Shibamba rendered? You can help me with your understanding, not what we think happened. What did you understand in your brother's business with Vele and VBS?
You don't?
I am.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
President and the President.
I want to response to you took so many questions. You see. Our member is implicated. So is all those people, and they are all treated the same. Let law enforcement deal with it. And in the same sentence we say, let us not jump to conclusion. It will be extremely wrong of us to jump to a conclusion after being advised by Mutahu. You are listening to Mutahu wrong. Mutahu, you are listening to Mutahu. I don't say it very well. You are listening to him selectively. He says, I'm not pronouncing on the guilty of anyone. So who are we in the EFF to pronounce on the guilty of our member? Let him be subjected to a process. And he is no superior member. He's got no position in the EFF. At least if he was at this level with us, we would have called him and questioned him. And if we call him now, he will say to Mr. President, do you call all members of the EFF who are in business to ask them questions? I can't do that. So let law enforcement deal with that. Or let me receive a complaint with some form of evidence. Then the EFF will refer the matter to the relevant structures of the EFF. I'm the signatory in the EFF, so is the Secretary General, so is our Treasurer General. So there is no way there will be 400,000 in our account and we don't know about it. We will know about it and we will account for it. So that's what happens.
Jointly or separately? So can one sign and the other
We sign at the same time. Our signing only team. We sign at the same time. And then we bank with Standard Bank. So we've got those tokens. So she will load and then we must authorize. So we go into the system and then we authorize. The point that is making is that pay all types of things. So I will never be shocked if one day you come with an evidence that says, no, but Brian at, what was the last event? Fifth anniversary at EFF, he paid for the buses or taxis or anything of that sort. They all do that. How do they do that? You know, when we have an event, we are now building an office, right? So all of us here must go and raise money. So he will be assigned, you have to pay for 10 buses, you have to pay for 10 buses, you have to pay for 10 buses. Then they go and ask whoever they ask, then they pay for buses. They come and tell us, my buses are sorted. Now when we're going to provincial people's assemblies, I was given 3 provinces. Your role is to make sure that that provincial people's assembly seat, it has got everything else that the conference must have. Meaning, you must help that province to raise money to pay for its conference. So different types of us would have gone to different sources and say, no, pay for this, pay for that type of an event. So I won't rule out that possibility. But from where I'm sitting, there's no donation from Brian to the EFF unless it is explained differently or no. Maybe he paid the events as you are suggesting, or maybe paid a travel company, like Dali says he paid a travel company. One day his bank statement is going to be reflecting as EFF donation, loosely written to remember what was this trip for. And then they'll say, there was money from Dali to the EFF. EFF benefited, must take responsibility. Yeah, we must investigate. Now, let's teach you. You know, when some get, I like it because when you speak, you are so emphatic, and then you take a posture that suggests you've got a point, even when you don't have a point. you take a posture that, and that time you're not saying anything. You see. So let me show you why you are not saying anything. Nhlanhla Nene's son is not in VBS. Edward Zuma is not in VBS. The context is very important all the time. I'm saying to you, you are inconsistent in showing the faces on this matter. Yes.
As ANC, I was in Limpopo last week. NMC Zach and so met in 2003. I spoke to him. I know you have his number, we can call him and confirm whether we spoke or not at the 2004. Florence Radzenani, her face has been shown. She was one of the two ladies who went up to congratulate Cyril Ramaphosa when he won the ANC presidency. So what you are portraying is you have not shown them as ENCA. I can confirm with you. Those people have been shown, and those people's names have been mentioned on my reports in that province.
Thank you. Again, you see, now you are somersaulting because I've dealt with your earlier example. I finished your example. Or the example on Zuma and Nene is not what we're talking about. I'm not talking about generalization. I'm saying to you, on the VBS story, you are not showing the. I gave you the people, Denim Caesar, Florence, and the mayors who are public representatives who took the monies of people and sent it to VBS. Secondly, I'm saying to you, you are consistent because those municipalities are called municipalities, are not called ANC municipalities. But you have just recently said DA municipalities are engaged in a regular expenditure. When it comes to municipalities that are led by DA, they are called with their political party. That's what I was talking about. So, and then you show the logo at the back and all that. And I'm not saying ENCA. You see, I'm saying the media. I'm saying the media. So now, for you to stand up here and talk about ENCA as if you are the superior of all of them, when you are not even a quarter of SABC, I mean, what is that? No, I'm saying SABC, not SABC TV. Again, you are making another mistake, standing up confidently, thinking you've got a point when I'm not talking about SABC TV, talking about SABC. Yes, so the SABC.
He says it's joking.
He wants to apologize.
Yes. Can you apologize? I'm joking.
Now, so the IPCs, I'm saying, there are names and of people and companies of nepotism and corruption. We can go up to that far because we don't want to make the mistake you guys are making. We want to confirm that indeed these people are involved. Some of them, we know them very well. We've worked with them in the past. So we are consulting with them. Hey, Chief, your name is here. What is the story? No, I've never been involved with those things. So we are doing our own thing. We'll come back to you about that. So, News 24 investigating, brother. We are not in the same business. We are not investigating. That's your job. You are an investigator. We don't do that. We act on information that is given to us. And on VBS, when the story came out, we came here. If the colleagues remember, I said loan book, which I'm repeating today. I said to you, go and find out what is in the loan book. You'll be shocked. So it's not like we're talking about said anything about VBS aggressively even before. But it's not our job. We get information, we verify it, we look at legal implications. Now, Ranjeni, Skakane said there was a rogue unit. There is a Skakane report which has not been reviewed. None of the implicated people took the Skakane report on review. So I've got an authority. In the same way you've got authority on VBS report. So these reports are of the senior councils, both of them. And they must equally enjoy our respect if we are to go about respecting the report produced by such a senior people. If you listen to me, I'm not saying minister, I'm saying Pravin's people, Pravin's style of doing things is like this and that. Police source, I'm told, it's a spokesperson of some minister who's got some relationship with the rogue unit as well. Police source. So we know where she's getting that misguided information. My sister, if this guy sitting next to me has not given us all his statements, maybe he's got an account with the Itala Bank and he didn't disclose it to us. He knows it's a huge misconduct. But I can tell you that in the monies that have exchanged hands between Floyd and Brian and all of those relatives of Floyd that he will point at us, this one is so and so, this one is my father, it doesn't come anywhere to a 10 million. Nowhere close to 10 million. I don't want you to give me the document. All I want you to do is to list the payments. Paul, payments. Just say he received this amount on this day, because you are now creating another doubt that it might not be lump sum 10 million. It might have come through different trenches. Please, even if you don't want to give us the evidence you have, because it might have been obtained illegally, just give us the dates. Or on the 10th of June 2017, 200,000 went into his account. This is the account number. We will give it to him. And then he will have to come and then prove it to us. And he's got the right to tell us, I won't do it. Because anyway, the honors are on us to prove to him. So we'll just use you as the basis. No, but we got information from a journalist that on such and such a date you got the money. Give us the statement of that day. Let us satisfy ourselves. And from all the accounts that you hold, whether you've got a trust, whether you've got a company, whether you've got any other thing, please answer truthfully. We said that to him. We said that to him. So, in the calculations we've made, we don't seem to be receiving the 10 million. And then we even try to make you a favor. We take his salary, add on the receiving. We still don't get 10 million. We still don't get 10 million. So that's what troubles me. Where does the 10 million comes from? Is it allowed for a person to just wake up in the morning and just say, allegedly they received 10 million? Because they said you've got very powerful sources at the Reserve Bank. These people are powerful. So I thought, you know what? We shouldn't mess up with these people, because I know how they fight. They will unleash the whole thing on our face and we'll be embarrassed. Let us go into every little detail to satisfy ourselves. Of course, there are exchanges between him and Brian. Not those things that you are talking about VBS. Now, the last point is AfriForum. We don't entertain AfriForum. AfriForum is a right-wing, racist organization. We don't entertain them in the same way we don't entertain Donald Trump. We don't have time for those things. But for our land, we shall fight it for. We shall fight for it in the same way as our forefathers did. We will fight for this land, and this land shall be returned to the rightful owners. You know, comrades, that station we sent, which said a person in prison said, I gave him money. Huh? Siko. Carte blanche.
Carte blanche.
Carte blanche. Carte blanche. Yeah. Carte blanche said, I paid a person to kill white people. That person was displayed on TV from prison. They deleted that tweet video. We asked for it. They deleted it. They've never apologized to me. And that's a South African media must respect. I have given a person money to kill white people by carte blanche. I bet that's how it's pronounced in Skukul.
Yeah.
That's paid. Yeah, carte blanche. Carte blanche. So, I'm trying to demonstrate to you that the media, in trying to suit a certain narrative, they can just put information that is non-existent. And surely, that is the type of video they will take to the international communities. Maybe they got it from AfriForum, we don't know. We wrote them a legal letter. Those ones I said, no, these ones I must attend to decisively. So they asked that we must give them time, extension to respond. They have not responded within a short space of time. If they had the facts on their side, they would have told me, go ahead, we are ready for you. Just to put my name like that, because they hate me, because they can't falter what the EFF stands for. They start peddling lies about the EFF. Well, I don't have a comment about being compared with Motebo and all that. I think Reggie must win the Youth League presidency. That's my personal view. Because if Reggie wins, the Youth League will become more irrelevant. And I don't think Motebo is a candidate. He's doing what he was doing with Messi Sulu, Lindiwe Sisulu. So it's a must. He's doing it's a must part 2. You see, because he took Mama Sisulu, paraded her and said it's a must, and then she didn't win any must. So he's doing the same thing. He wants to stay in the media by throwing his name. He's throwing his name. I think the candidate is Reggie and that young man who was sitting in the plot with Zuma, allegedly with Ace in
Maharani.
Tandikol. I think those are the two candidates. Don't be fooled by any other thing. I don't know Tandikol. I've never met him. The person I know is Reggie. Reggie grew up in Kosas. He grew up under me. So until he became rich and big-headed. But otherwise, those were young boys that I groomed them with Mpose Sedinyani, and those were the young chaps of Kosas before the Youth League here in Gauteng. Yeah, I think I'm done. A DP. Yes. Answer for your sins, Chief.
No, I thought that Brian had said in the statement which he issued that he's going to comply with all law enforcement institutions. And if law enforcement institutions say that he illegally received money and the money that he received was illegal and must be paid, he should do so. He must comply with the law to the fullest. I thought when a person publicly says that I'm going to cooperate and fully comply with law enforcement decisions, it means all those things. Whatever the law institutions say you must do, you should do. I thought that is what had been dealt with in terms of all of these issues. I think the gentleman there, so he went to CIPC website and checked my name and which companies registered me. So the way that report comes out, it will say directorship when the company was in existence. It says active. But it says all those companies were deregistered. When I went into Parliament, you must check the entirety of that CIPC report. When I went to Parliament, they deregistered all the companies, and then they never were active in any way. They were never active. I've never got to be involved fully in terms of all those engagements. So I'm sure if you go and visit the website and you read line by line, you'll realize that your conclusions are not consistent with reality. I think the chairperson spoke about all these other issues. Like siblings relate on a variety of issues and everything else there. But one thing which I would say categorically clear is that I'm not involved in my younger brother's businesses. I did not even get to pay detailed attention to it. The only time I asked about the details of his businesses was when they say he's mentioned in the VBS Mutual Bank report. That's why I said that, did you get such money? What is the basis of you getting such money? And then I was then given access to the service level agreement which he had with Valley. And that is the only time I got to appreciate the dynamics around it. Otherwise, I'm not involved in his businesses. We do not stay in the same house. He has got his own family, he's got his own wife and children. He's an adult. As you said before, we're not the same person. He's got his own ID number. Like his name is Brian Ansa Shivambu and my name is Floyd Shivambu. We're not the same person. We do not frequently stay together. Like we take a lot of period without seeing each other because we've got different obligations and responsibilities. So any imagination that we stay in the same house and do everything else together is misplaced in terms of all those issues. And he had made commitments that he will be held accountable. He's going to fully cooperate with the law enforcement agencies. Actually, even before the law enforcement agencies come to him, he had said that he is going to take the report to court. And court means that he must disclose everything. So even before they come to him, he is the one who's approaching the law enforcement agencies to say, let us clarify what are the basis of all these issues. And I'm sure in time everything else will be put to rest in clarity, and then we'll take it from there. That is what we have to say, President.
Yeah. National Chair.
Okay, mine is very quick. Yeah. Firstly, I think that whoever asked the question, I don't know if you're listening carefully to this question about the so-called investigation, which is what the journalist was asking me about. Deputy President has said that his brother said to him that monies that he received were from non-banking activities over there. So I don't know how you, as the media, decide that. Let's assume he gave all the 16 million to the Deputy President. How are you able to say whether it comes from the mining activities, from the cleaning activities, or all this other array of investments that Vera has? You just decide it comes from VBS because you want to believe that. So that's why I was answering that lady who was interviewing me to say, and maybe if you think that because I mentioned 20 rand, it was trivializing it, I could have said 20 million. Maybe you feel better. The point is that I was making an example because she was saying, yeah, well, have you had a meeting as the EFF? So I said, over what? No, because the Daily Maverick says that he received 10 million. So firstly, I don't know if ENCA is vouching now for the Daily Maverick or what. But I said to her, as an example, if my sister gives me money in my family, don't forget the amount for now. Why must the EFF have a meeting about that? Then we will be in permanent meetings. Because all of us get given money or give money to our families, mother, father, brother, sister, all the time. And that, I mean, this morning before I came here, no, I mustn't do this, because my sister told me on Saturday that I mustn't make examples involving her and the 20 rand, yeah. But okay, I won't mention it. But this morning, I gave 50,000 rand to one of my siblings. Before I came here, on my way coming here, I called my bank and said, please transfer. Now, we must have a meeting about that. That's really what I was trying to portray. Thank you.
And you must announce that your son is working for 702.
Oh yes, yeah. So therefore, I can't talk to 702
Yes,
because my son is now taken over.
And then the
UCBS.
EFF must have a meeting about that.
Must have a meeting.
Yes.
And I must recuse myself.
Yes.
Whenever we talk about 702.
702.
Ah,